YouTube, what's happening? Hope you're having a great start of the week. And if you know what this shirt means, you probably are saying one thing. It's about fucking time, dumbass, right? Yes, it's about time. Bill 69 is finally over. Started way back in December of 2012. Me and my buddy Simon, the Pie Man, we began a quest to defeat 69 retro video games. Some games we played relentlessly as kids, some we beat, some we didn't. Some games we only maybe rented a bit, some games we had heard of but never gotten a chance to play. Other games we got off lists, we'd never even heard of them before, never played them. So it's finally over. Now, it took us a little over 12 years to complete this task. And when we did the math, we thought, you know what? That it seems like a long time for that many games. But when we factored in that, both of us went through so many life changes along the way. In 2012, we were in our last house before I separated from my wife, that we were in for 14 years. My son at the time was 5 years old. We did house renos. We got a new roof. We had so much stuff going on. We had COVID, and then, but Simon, he had even more stuff going on. He moved into his new house. He did tons of renos on his new house. He had 2 kids over that time. Got married, I believe. So you factor in the fact that we were getting together once a week, but some of those weeks obviously had to be canceled because of all these different life events, because we were sick, because busy at work, whatever. So, when you factor in 12 years once a week, 52 weeks a year, some games, not many games we would beat in one night. Some of the easier games, maybe. Some of the easy but not that easy games might take us 2 or 3 weeks, And then some games, like the last game you're going to hear about today, took us several weeks in sessions to finally put in the book. So when we broke it down, we were like, you know what? It's not that unreasonable that it took us this long, even though at first glance we were like, holy shit, what a debacle. But anyways, it's finally over, and I'm very excited to present you with these last 3 games, because we saved 3 amazing games for last, because these games all had a big effect on us as kids. They stuck in our mind for some reason. And well, let's just talk about the first one, shall we? Released in 1988 for the NES by Capcom. Yes, magical Capcom. The first game is Bionic Commando. The story behind Bionic Commando is that it takes place in the late 1980s, same time as the game was released, I suppose. And you have the good guys, known as the Federation, taking on the bad guys, known as the Empire. Basically, the Empire, kind of like a Nazi type of outfit, right? So you enter the fray as the final showdown between these 2 factions is about to take place. So you play as a character named Lad, who is an agent of the Federation, and you have 2 tasks. You're to head into Empire territory, and you're looking for one of the Federation's top agents, a guy named Super Joe. He went into the Empire territory that you're going into, and he hasn't been heard from since. So your task is to go in there, find Super Joe, but then also find some intel on the Empire's latest super weapon, which is something called the Albatross. So get in there, extract with Super Joe, find out what the Albatross is, so that the Federation can destroy the super weapon or whatever the hell it is, and deal the Empire their final defeat, and finally end this war. So the way the game breaks down, there are 19 total stages, I think 12 of which are the story stages, and 7 of them are like these really quick stop stages. They all take the same format, just 2 buildings in it with light resistance. You go into them to gain certain items that you need to advance through the game. And the way the levels are presented, they're not linear. So, excuse me. You see an overhead map with all the numbered areas and all lines connecting them that show you the different routes you can take between them, and you travel to each by helicopter. So if you want to don't do 1 and you want to go to 5, if it's available to go over here, you can go there. Now, certain areas you'll get to and you'll get kicked out of because you don't have a certain item or prerequisite to be able to take on that level. So then you have to go this way or whatever. And as you are traversing this map by helicopter, there are enemy helicopters patrolling too. And if you come across them in when you're traversing between 2 areas, you will have a quick showdown level where you have to defeat the resistance in order to continue on. So there's lots of things to look out for in this game. It's kind of hairy that way. There's lots of items like these bullet icon items. When you collect a certain amount of them, you help increase your character's health meter, which is very important because this game is not easy. There are 1-up icons to get free men. There is a POW icon, which gives you, I think, some sort of a shield for a while. Then there's a few different icons that help you repel a certain amount of bullets from the enemy before you become vulnerable again. A bulletproof vest, I think, reduces the amount of damage the bullets take, or like discounts every 3rd bullet or something like that. Just basically helps you survive a little bit longer and take less damage. There are these communicator devices. There's 4 different kinds. They're color coded that you need to help you intercept communications and talk to your allies during the levels and gain important intel. And then there's also a rapid fire pickup for your weapon. And then there's also a few different types of weapons that you can pick up. Like there's a shotgun, there's a gun that shoots in 3 different directions at once. So all these different items you have to be aware of. And as you're going through each level, if there's a boss in that level, you need to first reach the communications shed in that level. When you go into the communications shed, you will need one of these communication devices that I mentioned that are 4 different color-coded ones. You have to have the right one equipped for that communications shed in order to receive said communications. If you don't have the right one equipped, you won't be able to access the computer. You got to go back, restart the stage with a different one and hope that it's the correct one. Now, when you go to these communication sheds, there are 2 things you can do. You can intercept enemy transmissions and gain a little bit of intel that way. And then you can also communicate with your allies, get more intel, and also instruction on what you're supposed to do in future levels to make your life a bit easier. And also, when there is a boss in the level, you need to visit this communication shed to make that boss room become available to enter into and defeat the level. So if you make it through these 19 levels, you will eventually face down the ultimate bad guy from the Empire, known as Generalissimo Kilt. And if you take down him and destroy the Albatross, you have won the game, you have saved the day. And well, let's just say it's not as easy as it sounds. This game, as kids, we love Capcom games. All of the Disney ones, like Rescue Rangers, blah, 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 the Mega Man series, like they just made such good games. And this is another example of it. Gameplay, sound, graphics, everything is perfect. And one interesting thing, well, 2 interesting. Excuse me, I'm so fucking tired. I gotta retire. There's 2 very unique and interesting things about this game. First of all, the map it has. It's kind of like an early example of an open world kind of game. Not exactly like you see these days with these modern games, but it wasn't in a linear order, like stage 1-1 leads into 1-2, leads into 1-3. You could travel all around the map, go wherever you wanted, and just choose your own path to get through the game. Now, certain things you had to do in certain orders, but you found out as you went along. And this is part of what makes this game so hard, is that to keep everything in your mind, everywhere you've gone, what I need for here, what was I told here, and then to go to here. It's almost like the Jurassic Park game on Super Nintendo, that open world game. It's like you almost have to write down every fucking thing you find out and hear and whatever, and make a note of it, because if you rely on your memory, you're fucked, right? So that made this game really hard. The other thing that's really an adjustment to, and it's a really unique aspect of this game, this has happened a little bit in other games over the years, but you cannot jump in Bionic Commando. Your character cannot jump. He's armed with two things. He's got a gun he can shoot people with, and he's got this grappling hook he can shoot out to grab onto ledges, ceilings, light posts, stuff like that, and he swings from it and gains elevation that way. So that's really quite an adjustment you have to make in this game, and makes it stand out from other games and makes it very unique. So there's Capcom being Capcom, doing awesome things like they always do. Bionic Commando, put it on your list if you haven't played it, but be warned, it's not easy. Alright, so if we thought Bionic Commando was a difficult game for the first game, well, we're really going to ramp it up for the second game. The second game was another game that had a huge impression on us as kids, but we never got into it nearly as far as we thought we had when we were kids. This game is relentlessly hard. Released in 1991 on the NES by Tradewest. I love Tradewest. I don't have many other games, but they brought us the Double Dragon series, so that's all they need to do to make me happy, right? But anyways, they brought us another beauty in the esteemed Battletoads. The story behind Battletoads is that it focuses on a team of 3 mutant toads, obviously, Battletoads, Rash, Zitz, and Pimple. Now, together with Professor T-Bird and Princess Angelica, they are flying on their big cruiser spaceship, the Vulture, when Pimple and Angelica decide to go for a little side trip in Pimple's personal spacecraft. So they go for a little cruise and get kidnapped by the Dark Queen. Now, the Dark Queen is the main protagonist of this game, and she is incensed that her last plan to take over the galaxy fell short. So she is out for some revenge, and she's taking it out on the Battletoads. So, teaming up, the 2 remaining Battletoads, Rash and Zitz, must go out and fight their way through the Dark Queen's various minions and environments and get their friends back and send her packing. As with Bionic Commando, this is easier said than done. And when I say easier said than done, I mean this is one of the most difficult fucking gaming experiences we have ever faced in our life. The game is amazing. It is 99% amazing. It is such a cool premise. Cashing in on the popularity of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of the time, you know, throwing us more anthropomorphic mutant fucking creatures, right? Such a cool look. The animation of the characters when they punch people, like their arms get all big and their facial expressions go crazy. Really well executed game. It looks, sounds, plays amazing. It's such a cool idea. And there aren't any real items or pickups to talk about in this game. It's very simple in that case, where there's really nothing to worry about obtaining. It's just you go on a mission, and if you die, and then you restart. It's very basic, but at the same time, like I said, super difficult. And the game throws lots of different looks at you. In the first level is quite easy, and the game presents itself in that first level as a basic side-scrolling beat 'em up, and but after you get through that first level and you move on to the next handful, you realize, okay, no, it's not a simple side-scrolling beat 'em up. You've got levels where you are descending on these grappling lines and avoiding all the enemies and fighting them off as you push off one side of the cavern to another and try and hit enemies and try and coordinate your movements with your partner if you are playing 2-player. You've got a couple of levels where you both hop on almost like a hover bike jet ski kind of thing, and you have to avoid obstacles, be in the right lanes to take jumps, to jump over caverns and stuff like that. And there's one level where there's all these big snakes coming out of holes in the wall, and so you have to time your jumps to climb up and out through the level. There's a level where there's this giant orb chasing you through these various passageways, and you've got to stay ahead of it and just be so fast because the thing gradually gains on you the whole time, and you've got to stay in front of it. One of the toughest levels, you're on this little It almost looks like a reverse, like a unicycle, but instead of sitting on a seat and pedaling, you're hanging onto a handle with your hands attached to this big wheel that attaches to the wall, and you have to go through this whole thing as you're being chased once again, and if the enemy catches up to you, you're fucked. There's another area where you have to again climb this tower. There's disappearing platforms. Like, there's so many different looks in this game that it's incredible. There's really not many two levels alike in this game, so it keeps you on your toes, and it really keeps you guessing. Overall, there's 12 total levels, so it doesn't sound like a long game, but it is a long game. It is a very, very long, hard game. What do I think of it after playing it? I fucking love it, but I'm never playing it again, because the difficulty level, like I mentioned, is so high. When you're playing the vehicle levels, like on the jet ski, or when you're on that thing with the wheel on the walls, the timing is so tight. If you make more than like 2 mistakes during a run on the wheel bike thing, you're fucked. So your reactions have to be so precise, and the game speed is pretty high. So you got to be on it, and it gets so hard, your reaction and the timing on everything. And the other thing is, if you're playing 2-player, like, this game is almost easier to play 1-player, because when you're coordinating, say, these disappearing platform jumps, if one guy makes it and the other doesn't, it's almost like the game fucks you and one guy falls down afterwards or whatever, right? So you've got to be in sync with each other on these sequences. And you can also hit each other, so you can do damage to each other. So like when you're in that level, descending on the grappling cables or whatever, and you're trying to launch off the side to hit enemies, you can clobber your partner and send them hurtling to their death. And there's another man use sort of thing, right? And the levels are long, and if you get a certain way into a level and die, like, it's not like they have all these different respawn points in a level. You get set back way far. You got to do so much of that level again. So there's just so many elements of this game that make it difficult and trying for you to get through it, especially with 2 players. That it is just a relentless game. One of the hardest games we have ever played in our lives. I don't know which game we would consider the hardest. That one is up there. Super Ghouls and Ghosts was a monster. And then this last game I'm going to talk about after this one is in the running too. And I think there's a couple more in there I'm forgetting, but it is easily among the front runners. It is just disastrously hard. Now, would I play more games in this series? I would give them a try. Like, me and Simon never would have beaten this game if we didn't have his machine that allowed us to use save points. So every time we got through a sequence pretty well, save it, and we resume from there, right? Never, ever. People that actually beat these types of games on the console back in the day without save points and whatever, and having to sit there and play it for hours and hours, kudos to them. They should be the fucking president of the USA and the prime minister of Canada. You know what I mean? Like, it boggles my mind if there are any people that actually beat this game legitimately back in the day. It just, right? It just seems so impossibly hard to do. So I would like to entertain playing other games in the series of this, but again, it would have to be on a system where we could use save points. I know there was a Battletoads versus Double Dragon game, which I think would be pretty cool to play. And I think there was a Battletoads 2 game as well. So I would like to play them, but it wouldn't be imperative that we beat the games like we had to for our Bill 69 quest. If it just got too hard and whatever, we'd just be like, okay, we tried. We got as far as we could. Fuck it. Right? So great series. Great characters, great look, great vibe. I wish they made a cartoon out of it, but just impossibly difficult. So buyer beware on this one. Okay, are you ready to hear the game that we saved for last? Game number 69. This one's interesting because it has, just like these other 2 games, have some personal meaning to us from playing them as kids. This one goes even a little further. It was originally released as a 4-player arcade cabinet back in 1985 by Atari, and then it was brought to the NES as a port in 1988 by a company called Tengen, which I don't think I have any other Nintendo games by that company that I can think of. But when we saw it released, we were like, oh, we gotta have it. And the game is Gauntlet. Gauntlet is perhaps one of the very earliest examples of a dungeon crawler type game. And the reason it holds even more personal significance for us than some of these other games is that we originally discovered Gauntlet, me and Simon, who I was on this quest, this Bill 69 quest with, as well as his older brother Josh, when we were on a trip to Prince Edward Island as kids. I think I was maybe around 11, give or take. And yeah, we were on the ferry over to Prince Edward Island, and we were exploring the boat and whatever. And then we found, oh, it has this tiny arcade. And what's this game? Gauntlet. Oh, it has 4 players. So we're raced back to our parents. We're like, fucking quarters! We need quarters, right? And then we played this game for most of the ride to the island. So like I said, when we saw it released on the NES years later, I was like, picking that up, please. And again, it's just like a game like Battletoads. We didn't get even nibble into this game as kids. Like, we thought we were doing really well. No, we didn't even play a fraction of this game. So the story of Gauntlet is that an evil demon sorcerer type named Morak has poisoned the land of Rendar and is attempting to take over the realm. Now, in order to expedite this plan of his, he has stashed the sacred orb, which holds great power, deep in a gauntlet of his creation. Now, also stashed within this gauntlet are various booby traps, several of his henchmen, or hench things, I guess, not to mention a lot of his treasure. So, you are tasked with going into this gauntlet, facing down the 3-headed dragon that is guarding the sacred orb, releasing the sacred orb from its captivity, and thus freeing the land of Rendar and returning it to normal, and telling Morak to fuck off. So, as you're playing this game, in the arcade it's 4-player. On the Nintendo it is not. It didn't make use of the 4-tap, but you can play with 2 players. So, but you do get a choice of 4 characters to play with. There's a warrior, there's a Valkyrie, there's a wizard, and there's an elf. Now, the difference between these characters is that they all have ratings based on several different categories: speed, hit power, armor, magic, and health gain. So, do you want to be slow but powerful? Do you want to be fast but weak but have good magic? So you had to weigh out which character and which combination of characters you think might match together and get through the gauntlet the easiest. Now, in Gauntlet, there are 100 levels total, spread across 5 different lands. Several things to look out for when you're in the Gauntlet. There's 2 different types of health items, which will replenish your health meter, obviously. There are keys scattered throughout. It's very important to pick up keys because there's many locked doors and locked chests that you will need to access to get through each level. Not all levels have unlocks, but a lot of them do. There are several type of rare kind of one-off items that give you like invisibility. They repulse enemies. They give you invulnerability. They give you a reflective shot on your weapon. They give you a super shot on your weapon. These aren't important though as the permanent upgrade items. So I believe there's 5 of them, or maybe 4. So when you pick up this item with your character, it's a permanent upgrade. So there's a permanent upgrade to your magic power, to your hit power, to your armor, and to your speed. So very essential to pick these up if you want to have and not an easy time, a less torturous time getting through this game. What else are there? And then of course treasure. The thing with treasure is it's everywhere, and it may be tempting to bypass it, and you kind of do because you're always on a timer in this game. So, but treasure, if you collect enough, there's certain levels of treasure that once you reach, it'll give your health meter a permanent upgrade. to top it up a little bit further from where it starts at. So although you need to be hasty in these levels, you also don't want to not get any treasure, because gaining your health, boosting your health throughout the game is going to be key to beating this game, because like I said, it is relentlessly hard. And then of course there's potion vials. You can stockpile, for keys and potion vials, you can stockpile up to 10 per person. So, and potions allow you to clear multitudes of enemies from the screen all at once. So as you get late in the game, it is very important. You're going to want to have keys to help access places. You're going to want to have potion to help get rid of a lot of these more difficult enemies at the end of the game. So yeah, if you make it through all of these 100 levels and get to the end, you'll face down the three-headed dragon and release the sacred orb. But there are two things you need to be aware of. Two different types of rooms. So this is a tough aspect of this game. Your health meter isn't just a health meter. Your health meter is basically a timer. So when you start the game, and let's say you have the warrior and he has 800 hit points of health. He starts at 800, but it counts down as a timer. As soon as that level starts, it's already counting down. So it's almost just like a timer. Like you have to hurry. And then when you get hit by enemies, it only helps speed up the decrease of that health meter. So that's very difficult. But in each world, every 3 to 5 levels, you run into a treasure room. Now, a treasure room is filled with treasure. Obviously, it sounds like it is. And if you find the exit of the treasure room within the time limit you're given at the start of that treasure room, your health will be totally replenished going into the next level. So, but if you don't find the exit in time, you're fucked. You're going into that next level with whatever health you have when the timer runs out on that treasure room. So that's a relentlessly kind of nasty thing to do to players as they're playing this game. And then the other room you have to look out for, I believe there's 1 to 2 of these rooms per world, is a clue room. You must visit these clue rooms, and you must find the clue within said clue rooms. Because if you reach level 99 and get to the end of it, Morak will come up and say, you reached all the clue rooms, enter your code now, and you will enter your code, and you will be sent into that 100th level to go face down the dragon. But if you didn't get all the clues, you'll show up at the end of that 99th level, and he'll go, fuck you, you don't have the clues, restart, right? You're sent back to the beginning of the game. Fucking brutal. So you need to be very aware of that. So you gotta master the art of being hasty through all the levels in this game, while at the same time making sure you get treasure, making sure you keep boosting that health, making sure you're looking out for those permanent upgrades that are going to just help you be more powerful, more speedy when you get to the end of the game. But like I said, also getting through each level quickly to preserve that health and make sure that you can get to the next treasure room, top it up, and enter the next sequence in a good state. So yeah, this game is very hard. Now, the hardest parts about it, the timer of your health always ticking down, the clue rooms, if you don't get them, you're sent to restart. There are each room, each level has an exit. Some of them have multiple exits, so you can choose the wrong exit, and you're gonna bypass the treasure room you were hoping to get to because your health is getting low. It'll take you somewhere else, and you skip that treasure room. You're like, fuck, or it'll send you backwards to the room you beat before you got to that room. So that can be very relentless. And yeah, so those kind of 3 things combined, just awful. Makes this game very, very hard. Me and Simon had to restart it twice. So I think we had 3 total runs at this game before we got it. We didn't realize we had to get the clues. We got to the end, didn't have the clue. We were like, fuck. And then that was the second time. The first time we just didn't have the right combo of characters. He was using the woman, the Valkyrie, and I was using the warrior. So the Valkyrie's pretty quick. The warrior's very powerful, but super slow. So we just found that combo didn't work. And in the end, we ended up both taking the elf. The elf, I think, is the fastest character in the game, even though he's weak. The speed becomes essential later in the game. So we both used the elf, and that was the combo we used to eventually beat the game. But yeah, just 100 levels, relentless things they throw at you to make sure you have to get done in order to complete the game. And it was just a tough game to beat. Maybe not quite Battletoads tough. Battletoads was tough because of the quick reactions and and that kind of thing, and being able to hit each other and all that kind of thing. In this game, you can hit each other, but it's not as devastating as it is in Battletoads. This game was more of a planning kind of difficult. Okay, we got to take the right path. We got to get to the clue room, make sure we get that. We got to make sure we get to this treasure room and then get out of it in the exit in time to replenish our health. It was more of a tactical planning type of difficult than it was an in action kind of difficult that Battletoads was, if that makes any sense to you. But either way, to finish this quest finally after 12 plus years, to finish it with a game that had so much personal significance, not just to one of us, but to both of us, was really cool. And yeah, we almost felt like it was such a fun thing to finish this, but at the same time, it was like, huh, I feel kind of hollow now. Like, what are we going to do now? You know what I mean? Like, this thing that just consumed so many years of our life is finally just suddenly over like that. But definitely a very satisfying experience. Like, me and these two brothers, we've been friends like ever since we were born. We've known each other our entire lives. We're some of our favorite people. We love hanging out. So to go on a little quest like this with Simon and have a weekly built-in visit, every week for the last 12 plus years has just been, so much fun. And it was such a cool thing to embark on and eventually complete that I'm so happy that we did it. And of course, going forward, we're not doing another Bill 69 or anything like that, but we still are maintaining our weekly video game nights. We're just going to be a little more free and easy and play whatever the fuck we want. And if we beat it, we beat it. If we don't, we don't. No pressure now, right? So, but either way, it's finally over. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe I inspired you to do your own Bill 69 or something like it. But either way, I'm going to keep on gaming. Simon's going to keep on gaming. We're going to keep on gaming together because gaming is what we do. Peace.
Meow.